The Israeli ambassador to the UK was evacuated under heavy security from an event at the London School of Economics as a result of a large protest by pro-Palestinian activists against her presence. The event last night drew widespread opposition from pro-Palestinian and other groups on campus for platforming racism. That's what they accused the university of, with protesters preventing Zippy Hotovely from taking part. And I believe we can actually show you, before we get to our guests, the footage there of that. So that's the ambassador, the Israeli ambassador to the UK, just having to be evacuated, as you can see, and actually put in a car, heavy security, after that protest, obviously having to very swiftly, as you can see that there's quite an urgency there to get her away from the scene. Clearly, they were quite afraid for her security there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's absolutely disgraceful, isn't it, really? You know, these people can behave like this, really. It's all one thing having strong views and one thing wanting to demonstrate them, but I think when an ambassador, you know, has to basically leg it under heavy security, there's something going quite badly wrong there. But Isabel Sawkins, research fellow at the Henry Jackson Society, joins us now, as I understand it, to comment on this. Thank you very much. What's your initial thoughts about that, then? We've just seen the video there, haven't we? What's your take?
It's horrendous. It's disgusting. It's completely intolerable on so many levels that somebody who came to a university event, she was invited to speak. And then, as you said, you've seen the footage, she had to be hurried out under threats, not only to her own safety, but there was shouting, there was screaming. It's absolutely disgusting. And more than anything, yesterday, as I'm sure you're aware, was the 83rd anniversary of Kristallnacht, which happened during the Nazi era, which was when Jews were basically targeted on the streets, their houses and their shops, they were looted. 83 years later, we are still seeing similar persecution of Jews happening. And it's absolutely outrageous on every level.
I think this is allowed to happen. I mean, this is a university campus. It should be a place of open debate, and, you know, it should be upholding freedom of speech. Why do you think things like this are still happening on our university campuses?
This is the thing. You're so right. Universities should be the type of place where people can have discussions. We shouldn't be non-platforming people. And there's a way to protest these things in a peaceful way. Unfortunately, these things are happening because we are living in a time of rampant anti-Semitism. Particularly, we're seeing it on the left, as we saw last night. And there's a tolerance of it. There's an over-tolerance, and we allow these things to happen in society. The police need to be going after these individuals. They need to be holding them accountable for the horrendous actions last night. Because the problem is, if the police don't do anything, people are going to feel emboldened. They're going to think that they can get away with this type of behaviour. And it's just not acceptable.
No, it's not acceptable, but it's unfortunately not the first time at all, by any stretch of the imagination, actually, that we've seen a bit of police in action. Although, from what I can tell, the police did look like there was at least some physical presence. But yeah, I mean, there was a time recently, wasn't there, when a Jewish man was abused in the street. I believe it was in Golders Green, and it kick-started a lot more hate crimes, basically. And there were videos of police walking next to pro-Palestinian, I suppose, demonstrators, you could say, whilst they were saying deeply anti-Semitic things, whilst they were making threats to kill, actually. And the police didn't seem to do anything about that. Do you think that it is one form of racism that's deemed to be more tolerable than other forms of racism?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So if you think back to May, when everything was kicking off with the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, we saw horrendous actions on the streets of London. We saw convoys of cars shouting abuse at people, threatening just horrendous things to Jewish individuals and their families. And as you said, the police just don't do enough. And I think so much of it comes down to the fact that anti-Semitism is just not seen on the same. There's a hierarchy of racism that exists. And anti-Semitism is not seen to be as important as other types of prejudice that exist in society. And so this is part of the problem. Time and time again, these awful actions happen. I mean, there was abuse of a Jewish man on a Ryanair flight only just a few days ago from football supporters. Things are starting to be done. A few people have been arrested, but it's not enough to react to it.
Yeah.
There needs to be something stronger in society stopping these incidents from even beginning to take place.
OK. Isabel, thank you so much. Isabel Sawkins, our research fellow at the Henry Jackson Society, reacting to those really shocking images and footage, indeed, of the Israeli ambassador having to be hurried out of an event at LSE last night and under with massive security. But anyway, keep all your thoughts coming in to us on email, gbviews@gbnews.uk.